Hi everyone, welcome to my studio. It has been a while since we've been here and I'm excited to be back in the saddle again. Kind of had a rough holiday season, and for those of you that sent such kind wishes and sympathies, thank you so much. It meant quite a bit to me. Um, we all have times in our life when things don't go as we hope they would, but we get our strength from each other. And believe me, painting is such a therapy. And it's been a while, so I'm back in my saddle now, excited to share with you. Today we're going to do snow bulb, and this little project is so much fun. And I appreciate you joining me. And Lindsay is here to answer all the questions and make sure everything flows smoothly. I don't know if she can fix my speech, but
Can't do that.
okay. Do we have people joining in? We did advertise that we were going to be actually having a live today. We were going to last week, but oh my goodness, snow, cold weather. We are freezing in Ohio, and I know all over the country is subnormal temperatures, so try not to complain too much, but I am so over cold weather and snow. Lindsay's in her element. She's loving every minute of it. So there are a few happy campers out there, I'm sure.
Okay, welcome Sharon Schott
Hi, Sharon.
from down the road, she says.
From down the road. Up the road, it's colder up there.
Yeah. And Connie has joined us.
Hi,
and
Connie.
Sue.
Hi, Sue.
And there's a few others, but they're hiding and they're quiet, and that's fine.
Okay, it's still early in the morning. This is a project that it was kind of part of my Keep It Simple series. And every now and then, I think we just need a break from intensive painting to do something fun, lighthearted. And it's always exciting when it comes out really cute. And I think this little guy is just adorable. And I was amazed at how quickly it comes together. Lindsay asked me this morning, she said, how long is this going to take? And I said, probably just an hour. And so we'll see. I think we can do it quickly. And this is one of those projects that you can use what you have. A lot of different things can be substituted. So it's always nice to be able to use some of that stash of stuff that I know we all have. Just in case you need something in particular, it's usually in there somewhere. My father-in-law used to tell my husband, whenever he was needing something, he said, I know if you look in the garage, you're going to find it somewhere. So that's kind of the way it is with my studio. I know it's there. I have some of it somewhere. And if not, I have a good stash here at work. So are we ready to get started?
Yeah, let me flip the camera.
Okay.
And while I'm doing that, let's say hello to Kim and Stacy, Kathy, Robin from Snowy, Michigan, Suzanne, who says, I'm with you, Lindsay. I love the snow and cold as long as I don't have to drive. Yay, someone agrees with me. All right.
It's nice to not be alone. However, I think if it lasted more than a few months, she might change her mind.
I could live in Alaska, I think. I really do think I could.
Last week when it was so cold, I looked at Anchorage and we were like below 8 below zero, and it was 24. I thought, wait a minute, that's just something wrong with that. So, okay, this little guy just made me smile. And I thought it was fun because I'm using pieces to layer on instead of doing a lot of like intensive painting. So I went ahead and base coated the light bulb and the snowman and the base. And I did a little glitter. I always have it everywhere. I used the 1.5 inch short wash, and I always start in the middle and just brush it toward the edges. Can you see those edges, Lindsay? They're not real perfect. I just put one layer of paint on. I did seal it first. That just gives me a better base to paint with. But I wasn't real concerned about, that perfect base coat that we all try to do. And it light and dark, that's okay. It's just going to add to the personality of the piece. Same with the snowman, but because he's white and I used warm white on him, I did put a couple coats on because white is notorious for not covering well. The hat and the bulb are zinc, and this is the light bulb itself is thicket. I wanted this to be a blustery day. So I'm going to be using a snowflake stencil background. And this is a very versatile snowflake stencil. We have a variety of snowflake stencils. So whenever I need one, I just grab one and kind of adapt it to whatever I'm doing. It has some snowflakes on I'm not crazy about, so I just won't stencil those. So before we put that on, I'm just going to put my little guy down here and decide this is a white chalk pencil. And I'm just going to kind of say this is my ground. That way I don't want snowflakes falling down below particularly. So I just have a little line there where my little snowflake or my snowman's going to be. And I don't like these big empty snowflakes, so I just won't stencil those. And I'll just kind of move it around. It's really nice with a snowflake stencil that has a variety of snowflakes. It's so very versatile, and you can pick and choose what you want to put where. Doesn't have to be exactly as it is laid out on the stencil. And I'm going to anchor it down. I just don't want it to scooch around while I'm painting. Using warm white. I did not use Snow White on this because I wanted it just a little more earthy. If you want to bump it up and have it a little bit brighter and you don't want to do all of the antiquing or the, I call it the grunge look, absolutely your preference. It would be adorable anyway. In fact, it would probably be really pretty if I did like a lighter blue, aqua blue. And loading my stencil brush, and this just brushing it over a paper towel to get rid of the excess. I don't want super heavy stenciling in the background. Just have a really light touch and a soft swirl. And I'm just going over it rather quickly. Doesn't look like I'm doing much, but look at that. That's really heavy. I might lighten my touch just a little bit. And because I want this to be soft, I'm not going to reload as often as I normally would. I don't like these great big snowflakes, so I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to move it around and just pop some little smaller snowflakes in there. And my snowman's going to be in the middle. Don't have to worry too much about getting snowflakes behind him, but I don't want it to be empty. And can you see I can just take, like up here, I need something, so I'll go on and pick maybe this snowflake and just put a couple up there. It just fills that in a little bit. Maybe one over here. And because it's not solid and heavy, look how quickly I can add those in. I'm going to turn my stencil around just for a little bit of variety. And what's nice, because the stencils are translucent, you can see placement behind. However, as I'm stenciling, I'm covering up a lot of that. So I'm lifting it up just to see what's under there. I don't want to have two on top of each other, although it probably would be fine. And we'll add a few down here. Oop, I don't want to go down there. I like stenciling. I think it's kind of a good therapy. Let's put a big one over here on the edge. And let them spill over the edge. That's always kind of interesting to have a little bit of design that continues out. And I'm really scrubbing heavy now because I know I don't have much on my brush. And that's it. We've got a real blustery background. Just want to stick him on there, make sure there's no empty places. I could put one more right there. just because. And trying to pick something that I don't have right here. So I'll add this one in. Just like that. And that is all that is needed for that. While I've got my white out, I want to define that bottom edge using my 1/2 inch awesome angle, just a little bit longer in length, loading the toe of it with Snow White. And I just want to kind of scoot it across the top of the snow. And you see I'm not doing a smooth line, just kind of making it a little bit, to me it looks like snow drifts. I don't want it to be too heavy. I can always go back and add more, kind of using the toe and then the rest of the brush to kind of scooch it along. I can always go back and add more. Don't overdo it. It's always so much easier to enhance it than it is to go back and try to redo all of that. And as I'm working with this, what I'm going to be doing later on is building that up with a little bit of snow text. So don't fret about, you can barely see my horizon line back there. This is keeping it simple kind of thing. You just don't need to worry too much about how perfect it is, unless you want it to be perfect. Picking up just a little bit of that warm white on my number 3 radical round. I want to highlight these ridges. And I'm just scooching it with kind of a dry brush. I want it a little bit stronger than that. So I'm just going to pull that across. It'll just make it glow a little bit. And let's give this a bit of a quick dry. These snowflakes up here are a little bit brighter than these down here because that's where I started out when I first loaded my brush. But I'm going to distress it a bit. So as I sand, this is a 150 sandpaper, kind of keeping it flat on the edge and pulling it in. Now you can see why I wasn't worried about those perfect edges when I base coated. And I can go in here. If these are too bright, I'll just sand them down a little bit more. On the finished piece, this background is just very subtle, very quiet. And if I need to brighten it up a little bit more, I can go back and brighten up the snowflakes. But we want the snowman to be the star of attraction, center of attraction. And let's sand that down just a bit more. When this is varnished, if there's any uneven, like right here, which you won't see anyways, when the varnish is on, it just magically disappears. Okay, I've got a good bit of sanding dust. I just want to wipe that off. And that should be very nice and smooth. Let's set this to the side and go over here to my little snowman. I told Lindsay I had to clean up my area because I had stuff everywhere. I have little sections of my supplies. And again, this is zinc, snow white, or warm white. And I'm just going to give the edges a little buff. And if you get any on the side, you can go back and kind of buff those out as well, or touch them up later. Or you could bring the top colors down. I kind of like to just leave them unfinished. This is going to also smooth that paint out. And we'll give that a quick wipe. I'm going to use my number 3 radical round and put a little bit of a hat band on him. And this is Thicket. Just going to go across, pick up a little bit of white. And I want to brighten that center area up just a bit. This is warm white. I think I'm going to bump up to a bigger brush. This is a number 4. Loading it with warm white. I'll highlight the brim. And maybe a little bit on his hat. This is a dry brush. This is not a heavy. Application of paint. And that's his hat for now. Okay, I'm going to switch back to want to add the face in, and usually I start with the nose because I want to make sure that it's in the right place. And if the nose is in the middle of your face, then it's much easier to place the eyes and the mouth. And if you want, there is a pattern available and you can just use the line drawing, but I rarely do. I usually just, I'm back to my number 3 radical round. Just going to start where his nose is and just kind of wiggle it out. And that's good. Add his little eyes. And normally I use my painter's pal to add eyes, but for this one, again, I wanted to keep it simple. So I'm just using the handle end of my brush and just going to dip soft black, dip and dot. Did you see I kind of drug my hand a little bit and I had an oval eye, so I just went back and straightened that out. Well, I've got the soft black out. I'm just going to add a little bit of an eyebrow and I did kind of a funny little mouth. You can do dip dots, you can do the little line work. Little smile. I think I had too much caffeine today. My hands are shaky. I hear that. My Maddie, my dog,
she's poorly.
Her tummy's gurgling over there. I don't. Can you hear it? It's pretty loud. It's loud. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry a little bit. Let me get whenever you dip dot something, it's just going to take a little bit longer for that to dry. But I think I can go ahead and add the cheeks. Kind of pushing through this a little bit quickly. I have my number 10 diverse dry brush. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that burnt orange. And I want to wipe that off on a paper towel. You want to not have it rub off. If you would rub it over your finger, it's not going to be heavy paint. So I'm just going to kind of do an X stroke. And this is a game of patience. All of a sudden, it's just like magic. My dad was a photographer, and I would help him in his darkroom. And we would watch the pictures as they would develop. And he took weddings and high school prom pictures. So that was when all the dresses were like fairy dresses, just absolutely gorgeous, all the fluff and chiffon and ruffles. And as I would sit there and watch those pictures come to life, I could see all these beautiful princess dresses. Kind of like this. All of a sudden, it just starts to evolve in this beautiful, soft cheek. And as it starts to evolve, I can press a little harder. Now, I always do the cheeks, both of them at the same time, back and forth, back and forth. To me, that makes them even. They evolve at the same speed. So when I'm finished, almost always, I won't say 100% of the time, they'll be pretty much identical. I'm going to give that those eyes just a little bit more of a dry. And we want to give that nose a little bit of a shading and a little bit of a highlight. I'm using raw umber and my number 3 radical round. Just going to scoot a little bit and see how dark that is. I don't want it that dark. Just want a shade. And I'm just kind of scooting that along the bottom edge. I'll pick up a little bit of this warm white and just want to kind of highlight that top edge just a little bit. Brighten that up. Switching over to my 1/4 inch awesome angle and a little bit of that raw umber. Just going to add a little shadow under those eyebrows and a little bit under his eyes. Take heed when you go under his eyes. Too much will make him look like he's had a bad night. So I just want a soft shade under his eyes. And it looks a little bit heavy, but we don't have shading anywhere else. So a little bit under his nose and under his mouth. And this is very, very thin. I don't want it to be a heavy paint, mostly water. If I need to enhance it, I can always go back and add a little bit more. I didn't add eyelashes on my other one, but I'm going to on this one, just to make him a little bit happier. This is my 18-aught Epic script liner. Just a couple. And I don't want to miss out on that little highlight in the top left. This is what makes all the difference. Oh, that's cute. Just going in with a little bit more of that white. Did you see I bumped it down from the top edge of his nose? If I put it right on the top edge, it's going to blend into his face and you're going to lose that definition between the nose and the face. And I'm going to brighten that up just a little bit more. And it's so much easier to go back and add little things to brighten it up. Okay, let's add a little bit of shading. I'm going back to my 1/2 inch angle and this raw umber, and I'm just going to scoot it around the outer edge. Now, if you go with a nice, smooth, even float, that's fine. I do kind of a chop float. To me, it makes it look a little bit fluffy. Again, I'm keeping this very light, a lot of water. I can move it around easily. And I don't know if you can see, but where I have sanded, it's going to grab just a little bit darker. And I know he has a little neck in there, so I'm just going to add that on. I'm being a little careful around his face because I'm not sure exactly how dry everything is. So I'm kind of just staying on the toe of my brush. I definitely don't want to rub over those eyes. I know they will actually smear. Let's put some on his hat. And this is where I can add a little bit of definition, like right here on the bottom. And don't worry, if your highlights get covered up, we can go back and brighten them again. But see how they all start to blend together and become very cohesive. And I think there should be just a little bit right above the hat band, and you can see how that brings that out. I'm just going to take the clean end of my brush and go over that highlight. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's go over to this snowflake, the light bulb. I'm going to do the same thing with the raw umber. Just going to get it a little bit heavier. And I do go very fast. I use a lot of water so that the paint and the shading can be moved around. And I want to make sure I hear that tummy gurgling.
Poor puppy.
Yeah.
It's raw umber, correct, Chris?
This is raw umber. And it's going to tone everything down and warm it up quite a bit. Now, if you want it to be not quite so earthy, you could switch over to a burnt umber. It's a little bit, it has a little more red in it. I would say raw umber leans more toward the green brown. Burnt umber is just a little bit more red in it. And we're just going to go around the outer edge on this. What would you call this part, Lindsay? I call it the bulb base, but
there's a name for it.
I know. And I want to define each one of those sections. So I'm just going to shade across the bottom and up the sides. A lot of times we get caught up in being so careful about every step. And often, if you've painted very much, you spend a lot of time painting something, making sure it's perfect. And when you're finished, you realize it's all been covered up. And it just basically is good practice. But I like to keep an eye on parts that are going to be visible and hone in on parts that are not so much. Okay. Let's give everything a little bit of a splatter. And I am going to use a paper towel underneath because I don't want to have to clean it up. I love my splatter brush. I can splatter really well with this and not.
Yeah, Suzanne, that's a good name for it. Socket end.
Oh, a socket?
Well, the socket's what it goes into, but.
Okay. Everybody knows what it is, so.
Yeah, y'all know what it is. The bottom of the bulb.
I am loading just the tips of this brush. I added some water. Always, always, always test it on the palette. Make sure you know exactly how it's going to come off of the bristles. The thinner the paint, the bigger the splatters. So I can just kind of point, I always say it's like a shotgun. The closer you are, the smaller the splatter, the further away, the bigger the pattern. I'm flicking on the clean part. That keeps my fingers from being messy. I don't particularly want it on this part down here. So I'm just going to cover that up.
I do have a pro tip about this splatter brush. Do not lean over, like put your face down close.
Is that from experience?
It's from experience, yeah. I got it all over my face.
I have to stand up to splatter because if I sit down, it goes forward. If I stand up, I can point it down and it goes directly down. It goes wherever you point it. Obviously, it's not going to show much on his body. That's okay. And then I just rinsed my brush out in my basin, water basin, and wipe the bristles off. And they stay clean. They're nylon and paint doesn't stick to it. Don't let the paint dry on it. Rinse it out immediately and then it'll be fine. Okay, Lindsay, I think we've got everything painted. We just now get to assemble. However,
I'm going to give you a little warning. That's a hot glue gun.
I know.
It is hot.
When I use my hot glue gun at home, I have a silicone tool that I use instead of my finger, and I still get burnt. But
every time you use it here, you're like, "Ow, that's hot."
Yeah, it is hot. Okay, so while we're waiting for this to dry, I wanted to go back to the snowflakes. I did paint those white, but I don't use a paintbrush. Okay, when you are dealing with these little tiny,
You're looking for sponges?
no, just a little piece of something. Okay. I'm just going to use a little board because I put my double stick tape on it, and I've shown this before, and this is the snowflake. Now I want to paint it white. I'm using the warm white. I'm going to use my finger. If I use a brush, I always get it down the side edges. It looks messy, and you want to keep it nice and clean and crisp. So I'm going to load my finger with paint. Now, your finger is no different than a brush. If you overload it, you're going to get it to run down the sides. So I'm going to tap it off until I have just a light covering. I can almost still see my fingerprint. Is that what they're called? Yeah. And a very light touch. Very light touch. If you push too hard, if you have too much paint, it's going to run down the sides. Boom, that is painted. Now, while that's on there, and I just painted, I'm going to take the Crystal Glamour Dust and just cover that. I should have took it off the tape. That was not smart, was it?
I wasn't going to say anything.
Okay. Take it off of the tape because now I've got all the glamour dust on the tape, which is really not a big deal, but you don't want to waste that. You don't want
as she says, not as she does.
Yeah. So there's my snowflake. It's painted and it's glittered and boom, 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 just like that. I struggled painting all those little pieces for years, and I thought there has to be a better way. Yes, there is. Don't let these little things overtax. Okay, let's get this little snowman dressed up here. I have too much snow on his nose, so I'm just going to go in. This is the Mono Zero eraser, and you can see I use it a lot. I'm just going to lift some of those snowflakes off, those little splatters, so it's not quite so it doesn't blend so much into his face. And all I did was dampen the tip of the eraser and gently rub. Don't be too aggressive or you'll dig right down through the nose and onto the surface. So I just tore a piece of homespun. Now you can paint the scarf on because this piece is designed, it has a little roundy parts here for the scarf. However, I thought, no, I'm going to keep it simple, right, Lindsay? And I just wanted to wrap this around, and I thought it would be cute to have it wrapped around a couple times. So just going to, Lindsay's going to hold her breath because I'm going to hot glue here.
She's gonna prove me wrong here.
I'm gonna try real hard not to burn myself. And there are, I should get one of those silicone finger coverings.
We might still have them out there.
I know. Okay, so there's my little scarf, but I want him to have tails. So I tried to tie it. And if you've ever tried to tie a scarf into little tails that hang down, on the big ones, it's not a big deal, but on the little ones, sometimes it's just hard to do it and have a nice looking knot. So I just wrap that around, and then I'm going to take the loose piece. Just going to, look at that. Just going to do that and tuck it in there. Not only will it never come untied because you don't have a knot, but you can hot glue it and really make sure it stays in place.
Now, if you don't, I'm just going to say this, if you don't like hot glue, you could use a good craft glue to do this for the sake of time.
Yeah, and there are a lot of craft glues that set up quickly.
Yeah, there's like a fast drying Aleene's that we've used before. But for the sake of time, we're using hot glue because it sets pretty fast. So
I'm just going to cut those ends off. And if you want to, you can even go in and just kind of, can you see? I'm just going to add some fringes on here. You know, all these little things you do for just a little more detail. And I can fray those out just a bit. I think it's so cute. Now, if I don't want this to flip up, I can hot glue it just a little bit. Now, I do want it to have a little bit of movement, so I'm going to leave a little bit of a, it's not a wrinkle, it's a little layer. And it won't be just absolutely flat. And I like that movement. I wanted to add a little bit of greenery, but oh no, this is the wrong color. So you know what I do? I paint everything. So I'm just going to snip off what I want. I think I want a couple here. And these are just little, I've got hot glue strings everywhere. Little pieces of Christmas greenery and cedar. I'm just going to cut a couple pieces off. I never waste anything. All of these little pieces can be, they're just so cute. But I don't want them this bright green. I want them to match the whole scope of the project. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that thicket and paint it. I've got glue strings on everything. And it doesn't take long for it to dry. And I'll show you another secret I have of making ugly greenery look good. And I do flip it over and do both sides. I'm going to let that dry for a second. I have, I wanted to put a couple little berries on it. I didn't have any berries that were, I wanted to match the color in the scarf. So I took the bright red berries and I just painted them. And I think this is with Rookwood Red. It's just a deeper, darker color. So you can coordinate the berries to match your project and the colors that you use very, very easily. Okay, so I am going to just put a little bit of glue right there. Lindsay's nervous. Put some greenery in there, just like that. And pop a couple little berries on there. Make sure it goes the right direction. Isn't that cute? Okay, so we're still working on this little guy. That snowflake that I just did, I'm going to pop it up here on his hat. I would say let it dry a little bit longer than I have. And I always give the snowflake a little bit of a turn. I never have the tines go straight up and down. I think it just adds a little more personality. Buttons. You can paint the buttons on, but I took a button and I just put a little bit of hemp cording through it. You can use a heavy, like a quilting thread. And I just am going to tie it in a real tight little, it's not a knot, but I'm going to glue it in place because I glue it. That is not going to come untied. And I will add that right. Put one here. And it gives a little bit of a lift because I have that volume on the back. And I'll show you what we do with that. And it kind of works in your favor. Okay, now to me that looks a little bit dull and a little bit plain, but we can use our magic to dress it up, make it look really pretty and frosty. And I'm going to use a combination. Do we have ultramat varnish? We do. I want to get a little bit of snow on this branch because I think it's kind of ugly. And I'm just going to lightly touch it with a little bit of white. And I clean my brush really well. Going in with a little bit of ultra matte varnish. And you can use any varnish. And we'll sprinkle just a bit of glamour dust on that. Look at that ugly little branch. I mean, that went from this to that and is so pretty. I want it to stay up there a little bit more. I can fix that. Going to go in with a little bit of snow text. I want some volume of snow, like little piles of snow. Just gonna put it right on that, those berries. And you know what? Here where that button's lifted up, I'm gonna pile a little bit on there. Not only is it gonna make it look like there's snow piled up, but it kind of fills that gap in. And I want to move that, so I'm gonna pile some up here. And you know what I'm going to do. Put a little bit of glamour dust on that. Actually, I'm putting a lot of glamour dust on that. I want that to stay up just a little bit more. One thing nice about hot glue is you can make anything behave the way you want it to. And I don't think I put any glamour dust on those berries. So I'm going to add some there. Isn't he cute? Look at him, he's adorable. I can put another little snowflake down here. You can put as many snowflakes on as you want. And I want him to kind of spill over the side. Is that not cute? You know, this would be a cute ornament just by itself. You wouldn't have to put it on the plaque. However, we're going to continue on. Now, because I've got all this on the back, look at it, it kind of rocks. So you know all those little scrap pieces that you have left over from stuff. I'm going to use this as kind of a bumper to bump it up a little bit, keeps it from rocking, makes it a little more solid. If you don't have these pieces, you could cut a piece of corrugated cardboard. There's enough volume in the thickness that it would work just as well. And I'm just going to put one at the top and one at the bottom, and that should be quite sufficient to keep it from rocking. So I'm just, shouldn't turn this over because I've got all of that wetness. Okay, we'll just do it carefully. Lindsay's holding her breath. Okay, I'll put one up there. And one down here. Kind of doing it towards the top and towards the bottom instead of in the middle. I've got this stuff going on here in the middle. And look how solid that is. This is really nice. And I want to have him just a little bit below the horizon. Or I should say the snow line. And I'm only going to glue those two spots. I could put glue in the middle, but it won't make a bit of difference. Oh, I forgot his arms, Lindsay.
Oops. He's armless.
Okay, we got to do his arms before we glue him on. Lindsay, you're supposed to tell me these things. Okay, just lift it off. I can glue it back on here in a second. The arms. Now you can go out in the yard or the park and collect sticks, but this is floral wire, and it's wire that's covered with brown paper, and you can get it at Hobby Lobby, you can get it on Amazon, and I just cut 3 lengths, probably about 10 inches long. I wanted him to have 3 fingers at least, and I'm just twisting it. If I was at home, I would probably use a pair of pliers to twist it. And you can see that gives a lot of thickness to the arms. And one thing nice about the wire, if you use sticks, there's always a chance that they could break. But with the wire, it's not going to go anywhere. And you can bend it and shape it whichever way you want. Yeah,
Jessica just said he looked fine without arms. Yeah, he does.
He does.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is an option.
If you don't want to put arms on him, you don't have to.
Okay, so I'm going to glue them just so they're like right below the scarf. I don't want to glue them on the scarf because there you're adding more volume and it's going to be thicker than the little things that we just added. Okay, so there's the arms. And once I get them glued on here, I'm going to hold it for just a minute because they are kind of springy. If I have my little tool, I would just press it in there, make sure that's super flat, but we'll have a little patience. I'm dying to stick my finger in there.
Don't.
I know. I need something to flatten it. Put it on my palette.
You have like a stylus?
No, my finger. Okay. No burn.
Do you know what gauge wire that is?
It's floral wire. I would say it's super.
Maybe a 20?
I think gauge is how thin it is.
Yeah, like a 24 is pretty thin. Look, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe 20.
Probably maybe 20. But with the paper wrapped around it, it's a little bit. It looks thicker.
Someone said use the scissors to press it down.
Oh,
good idea.
Where were you a minute ago? Okay, let me stick this little guy back on here. Okay, I'm going to try to stick him in the same place. Oh, there he is. Look at that. Okay, the little fingers. I thought it would be fun to just kind of have him holding a little snowflake. And I don't want to have like super long arms. So I'm just going to cut them about the, maybe the distance of the. Bad idea to use scissors. Don't use scissors. It's hard on the blades unless this is your craft scissors.
Nice Tim Holtz scissors.
Yeah. I have a pair of cutters at home, wire cutters. And I'm twisting it because I want to open the fingers up. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And see how they spread out. They're really easy to work with this wire. And we'll open this one up. I'm going to twist this just a little bit more. You can see it opens up. Has to be a wrist, so his fingers come out from, I guess, the palm of his little branches. So it has to work here. Okay. Oh, he's cute. I thought his hands seemed a little bit, or little arms seemed a little bit dark. So you know what we do with that? I'm going to grab some Snow-Tex and just kind of pile it on. Oh, my goodness. And this also, I thought, you know how the snow pile's kind of in the crook of the branches. It also makes his hands show up a little bit more. Over here, I wasn't so worried about showing up. And I do have a little bit that fell off. I'm going to grab that off. Snow-Tex is super easy to work with. It's thick, almost like a joint compound. So you don't have to thin it down. You can just pile it on. And it may work better if you let it dry and add a little bit more later. I'm going to take one of these little snowflakes. And I just want him to hang on to that. Put a little bit of glue on his hand. And I can make that. We got one on his hat. I can add one up here. Just try to balance it out a little bit.
While you're doing that, with the bundle, you get the pattern, 6 snowflakes, the snowman, and the light bulb plaque. So And you get an assortment of snowflakes.
Yeah, there are 6. Oh, he's so cute. Okay, let's dress up the bottom half. This is cute, but he's floating on just this weird background. So I'm just going to take some snow tack, and I'm using my palette knife, and I want to kind of build a snowdrift around him. And a palette knife is great because you can use it to kind of pull it and scoop it and spread it around. If you're good at icing cakes, this is a great, kind of like that. If you don't like where it lands, just take a paper towel, kind of wipe it off.
He is glued down, yes.
I put those spacers underneath of him, and so there's a gap here at the
So
bottom.
she can tuck the snow tacks underneath him.
And that way it just fills in that gap and makes him look like he's just sitting in a great big drift of this beautiful snow that we're dealing with.
Which we just got an alert.
He's
getting more
happy.
snow. More snow this afternoon.
Oh, really? I am a messy painter and a messier crafter. However, when I was in college, one of my art professors said, if you're not messy, you're not good. And that bit of wisdom I have taken throughout my whole entire life. Okay, you know what we have to do here? Glamour dust. Look how that brightens him up. This is just so cute.
Suzanne said, don't forget the glitter.
Oh, yeah. Now, after this dries, you can see there's glitter kind of hanging all over the place. After this dries, I'll just take a duster, like a soft brush, just gently dry brush it. Funnel all that excess glitter right back into the jar, and then I can use it over and over. This is a strip about 12 inches long, homespun, and I'm going to tie its pretty little bow, and this is just like the same kind of bow you tie on your shoes. And I should have had it tied before, but usually don't have any problem tying them. We used to sell these little bow makers, and they are very handy. I know there are some available on the market, but for a simple bow, usually you can pull one or tie one very easily. And just want to make sure that those loops are nice and tight. Okay. And tie that down. I'm going to glue this down, and then I'm going to add the greenery in and around it. And I want it just a little bit at an angle. How are we doing on time, Lindsay?
You are just at an hour.
Okay, we're just at the finish line, so we're doing really good here. So once I glue it down, you can see how secure it becomes. I can clip these little tails as we go. But I just want to add some greenery down here. Sometimes you can just pop those off. It's kind of nice. If not, yeah, use the scissors. I had some greenery, had wire down through the center, and I pulled it and the wire came out and the greenery was super floppy. So if it has wire in it, you may not want to pull on it. This is another little cluster of greenery. All of these are available after Christmas. You can get a real good deal on them. I use the same ones. I'll use every piece of this. Okay. Make that a little bit shorter. And just play around with it until you pretty much get it where you want it.
Now, are you going to paint those?
These are a nice color. These are not that. Can you see the difference between this and that?
Oh, okay.
These are just almost lean more toward that blue spruce kind of greenery. Okay, well, that looks pretty good. I'll just tuck those up in there. Just want to make sure all these little parts are secure. And I think every time you add a little bit of greenery, you might change your mind, and maybe I want it to go this way. Okay, it didn't hurt. And I have some berries. Again, these were the wrong color. You just paint them. If you want them shiny, put a coat of varnish over them, shiny varnish, and that will work. Oh, I hope I can cut that. Not going to work. Okay. I should have cut this off, but I did not. So I'm just going to bend it over. I think it'll be fine. That'll work. We can always make it work, right? Cover that up. I'll just glue that berry down. And add a little bit of this in here. Just sometimes it's nice just to have a little bit of variety on the greenery. Just adds that a little bit more. If I didn't ruin my little scissors on that wire, I'm going to cut these off. I'm kind of short, not super short. Okay, that looks nice, but we want to brighten it up. And a little snowflake in the center. What a difference that makes. And also it's going to bring that brightness down from the top. Helps to hold the bow in place. And then I can add a little bit of snow text on those berries. I have so much hot glue strings everywhere. They should make hot glue that doesn't have strings on it. And you know, let's add a little bit on these. Look how it brings those little branches out, just adding a little bit of snow on them. And I do see the strings. And you can hit the strings with the hair dryer, and it makes them evaporate and disappear. So we need glamour dust on all that to brighten it up. And then I thought, you know, that's a little bow. Could use a little bit of brightening up as well. I'm going to put this with the hair dryer, get rid of those strings. going with a little bit of just this. This is ultra matte varnish. Just going to hit a little bit of the bow, the tails, and a little bit more on these branches. And add a hint more of that sparkle on there. Can you see the bow sparkle? So pretty. Glamour dust is amazing. It brightens it up. It makes it a little more elegant. And everybody loves sparkle. So put just a little more on there. You can add as much or as little as you want. Those little berries. And this is when you take a look at it and say, you know, I need something here, something there. I'm just going to take a little bit of that warm white. And I'm just going to dip dot a few heavier, stronger falling snow in the background. And I don't want to get them too symmetrical. But look how that pops that background out. And you're looking at all of that. Oh, I just had a thought I could sprinkle some glamour dust on those, but I think I'll stop at this point. So I think everything, I'm going to brush his little face off. He had a pretty good amount of glitter on there. I think he's finished. What do you think, Lindsay?
I think he looks good.
And I can move his arms around. I'll wait until they dry, but I can shift his arms around. I thought it'd be kind of cute if he was kind of holding it. You know, you could have him doing all kinds of things. A little bit of simple design on this, adding the little embellishments, I think makes such a world of difference. Brightens it up. This is a very keep it simple project. And he is so adorable. And I think this is a great way to kind of pull the decorative painting into the crafting world to create something just absolutely wonderful.
This pattern is available on the website. I did put the link in the chat. That link will take you to the pattern, e-pattern, and the bundle if you want the bundle.
These will make great gifts. Hang it on your door. Put it in, what would Jen say? Put it on a wreath?
Yeah, put it in there.
So, okay, I think that's our little guy for today.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been fun. I hope that you picked up a few tips, tricks, and techniques to make your painting life a little less stressful and a little more fun. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter so you don't miss out on future events that are coming up. Go to Facebook page. Everything's listed on cvwood.com's Facebook page.
There is a new design that will be released later this week.
Oh yeah, I have.
I wouldn't let her share it. I mean,
she wouldn't. I would have.
She had it on the back wall, and I told her it's not finished. You can't do it.
Oh, the Happy Easter Bunny. We are going to be announcing very shortly. That's going to be a class, so keep an eye out for that. That's going to be upcoming very soon. And the new project. No, she won't let me say what it is.
Well, it's an interchangeable, but
yeah, it's one of, yeah.
The pattern wasn't done. I wasn't going to let her put it on the back wall until the pattern.
No, she didn't want everybody saying, when's the pattern coming out?
That's exactly what it is.
So it should be out later this week if all goes well.
She's got the line drawing done. She's just got to type pattern.
That's the worst part's the line drawing. So once I get the line drawing finished, it's downhill from there. So just a matter of getting all the photography and everything together. So thank you again for joining us. Any questions? Okay, until our next adventure together, remember, a little bit of paint makes a big difference. Bye-bye.